by a germ that was then killed by them putting nitrate into the meat that released oxygen during the smoking process. So if bacon doesn't cured, it could have botulism and kill you. But they cure it with celery powder, a natural alternative that works because it's naturally high in nitrate. It's a little more variable and a little less dependable, but it's the same principle. So cured meat, those are kind of bad things for you, and the evidence is coming in that they're increasingly bad for you. Some other tips when you're eating. Color. Color is important. Beige is generally not a good color for you. You may enjoy the beige food, the donut, the French fry, the mashed potatoes with gravy, the fried chicken, but it's generally not the stuff that's good for you. So if you got a whole plate full of beige food, you probably didn't make the healthiest choices when you were filling it up. Colors are good. Green is great. Even more colors are better. Blueberries. Blueberries are great. Everybody talks about the health effects of blueberries. There's blueberry pills out there, folks. But another tip, get your fruits and vegetables from fruits and vegetables. Don't get them from pills. There's really no point to be eating seaweed extract or blueberry pills or any of these things. Eat blueberries. Eat sashimi. Eat the stuff you like that's healthy. You don't have to get it in a pill. I talked about limiting the amount of red meat, limiting the amount of refined sugars and starches, probably also a good thing too. There's increasing evidence that overconsumption of sugar, which is easy to do even if you never put any sugar into anything because sugar's already added into all these foods around you, is related to obesity and diabetes, despite the fact that the medical profession has said for decades it isn't. The refined carbohydrates like white rice, probably pasta, potatoes, those things spike the blood sugar very quickly and bottom you out. Insulin gets secreted, things get deposited as fat, you stay hungry. Very simple changes, using whole grain breads instead of white bread, brown rice instead of white, and pasta's great, but consider what else is in the pasta. The pasta shouldn't just be refined carbohydrates and a can of processed pasta sauce. There should be vegetables in your pasta to make it sure it's healthy. And one thing you should avoid like poison, and that's fried foods. And I love fried foods. Anything can be fried and taste good. Just go to a state or county fair and look at all the things that they're deep frying. They're all good. I think you could take a piece of dog poop and deep fry it. It would taste great. The smell of deep frying foods, unless the oil is rancid, is enough that I salivate like a Pavlovian dog. I can use that stuff like a drug addict uses heroin. But it's really, really bad for you. Even if the oil that they're frying it is ostensibly healthy, it always turns into trans fat as it deep fries the food. That magical crust in a deep fried food is just full of nasty trans fat. So fried foods, not so good. So we're taking a look at a supersized meal. The Coke, probably not so good. The bun, probably not so good. The patty, probably not so good. The cheese, probably not so good. The pickle and the lettuce really doesn't have a lot of nutrition. The pickle is probably the healthiest thing. Certainly the French fries are not the healthiest thing. So how do you eat more fruits and vegetables? Well, first of all, you just don't steam them to green mush like my mother used to when I was a kid. You don't serve them out of a can. You don't have single things. Oh, we're going to have steamed cauliflower. That's horrible. Who the heck can eat that stuff? Well, you got to try different things, folks. You got to try spices. I love Indian cooking. Combinations. It's amazing how things that are sort of pedestrian, like lima beans and corn and tomatoes, combine them with a little spices and you make yourself a succotash, put a little okra, put a little more spices, you have yourself a vegetarian gumbo, and it's much tastier than an individual envelope of steamed whatever nuked in your microwave. Roasting, great way. I find even a lovely vegetable like asparagus to be pretty boring when you steam it, unless you put some greasy sauce over it. On the other hand, I can break it up into 2-inch pieces, throw it in a pan, drizzle a little olive oil, put a few spices on it, roast it for 20 minutes, and it's wonderful. That's how you have to prepare things. You have to be very careful about putting goo on your vegetables. People look at broccoli, I steam the broccoli, it's kind of tasteless. But here's a wonderful cheese sauce that I can put on the broccoli, which totally defeats the purpose of eating the vegetable. Fried vegetables, as I said, don't count. You can't have a deep fried cauliflower. You cover a cauliflower with a cheese sauce or a hollandaise sauce. It may not be deep fried, but it's pretty close in terms of its nutritional impact on your body. Be careful of salads too. Salad bars have a lot of fresh vegetables, sometimes some canned or pickled vegetables that are all wonderful, seeds that are wonderful. And then you get to the other end where you can put a piece of focaccia bread, croutons, half a pound of cheddar cheese, and maybe a quart of creamy dressing on your salad. That totally defeats the purpose of eating a salad. I read a study a few years ago, and it was shocking. Women who were dieting and saying they were eating more salads, how much of their caloric intake actually came from salad dressing. That salad dressing became a huge component of their diet just because they were switching to salads. So be careful of the add-ons. When I cook for my family, and I cook a lot because I think cooking for people you love is love. I think there's something therapeutic about cooking for your social system around you. But when I cooked for my kids when they were growing up, we generally had meat. We didn't have that many meatless nights, but there was a limited amount of meat that was prepared. Everybody could get one reasonably sized serving. There was no leftover meat unless it was bad. Nobody wanted to eat it. But there were no leftovers. There was no opportunity for seconds. And I was sort of the same way with the starch in the meal. You could only have so many potatoes. You could only have so much noodles. On the other hand, vegetables, I always made more than we needed. There were leftovers. You could go back for seconds. You could go back for thirds. I tried to observe the rules that I just said, roasting, combinations, spices, and I tried to make at least 2 vegetables at every meal so that if somebody really didn't like something, they had another opportunity to get a healthy vegetable in the meal. And when it comes to dessert time, rather than loading up on things that are creamy, cheesy, fatty, cakey, those are all great things, but if I can cut them with a bunch of fresh fruit, if I can make a cobbler, if I can make a crumble, if I can make a shortcake, if I can make a filling that's got a lot of fresh fruit in it, I'm doing a lot better than just a donut or a brownie. Don't throw out those vegetarian dishes, though. Soup is great. Borscht, or as we call it, Polish, call it borscht. Great soup, healthy, full of beets, carrots, parsley, all these phytonutrients, all these disease-fighting colored chemicals and fruits and vegetables that are good for you. Aloo gobi, wonderful Indian dish. Cauliflower, potatoes, peas, tomatoes, onions, lots of spices. It's a main course. Portugal, caldo verde. Got the recipe years ago from a friend. Wonderful Portuguese green soup, olive oil, kale or Portuguese cabbage, whatever you can get. Onions, just wonderful, wonderful soup. Look up these recipes. Go on, Google them. What am I going to do? I'm going to go out to my yard. I'm going to go out to my garden. I got some things to pick out there today. I got to pick some tomatoes. I got to pick some more strawberries. Dr. Margaret already picked some of the strawberries. She picked some rhubarb. She's going to cook something up. There's chard in the refrigerator. I pickled some cucumbers last night. I'm doing best to collect things from my garden, my fruits and vegetables. Folks, do the big 6. If you eat your fruits and vegetables, I think you have a better chance of staying healthy, my friends. Until next time, stay healthy, my friends.
Be sure and subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and more details at grumpyolddoc.com.